Hello, I'm Kenney Potter, editor for School and Concert Choral Music with the ECS Publishing Group. And today I am so excited to have Colleen McNickle and Coty Raven Morris. Colleen is assistant professor of choral music education at Arkansas State University, and Coty Raven Morris is assistant professor of choirs, music education, and social justice at Portland State University, where I got my master's. Go Vikings. And we are here today to talk about curriculum guides that you all are writing for ECS Publishing Group. And first of all, I want to say thank you because I've gone through them and lived with them, and I think they're absolutely wonderful. And I'm no longer in the classroom, but if I were in the classroom, I would absolutely be using these because it would save me so much time. And so we're going to talk about them for just a second, but I do want to just have a short elevator speech or so with your music education journey. So Colleen, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Colleen McNickle. I'm a choral educator who's dedicated to making choir teachers' lives easier by bringing teacher materials and resources to as many people as possible. Like Kenney said, I'm the professor of choral music education at Arkansas State University. I teach undergraduate and graduate courses in music education, and I direct our treble ensemble, which is the Scarlet Voices. My research has been in musicians' wellness and comprehensive choral curriculum and technology in the choir classroom. And a lot of these interests came from my 5 years teaching middle school and high school in Illinois. Recently, I've started Inspired Choir, which is a blog for choir singers and leaders and enthusiasts, and has a whole bunch of stuff just to make teachers' lives easier.
Yeah, and I would encourage folks to go to that because that's a great website. All right, Coty, your turn.
Well, hello, everybody. Kenny, thank you so much for having us today. My name is Coty Raven Morris. I am the professor of choir, music education, and social justice at Portland State University, and a proud product of the Texas music education system. All the Texans are happy to hear that. And I say that to say because I grew up really rooted in music literacy as the forefront of how we go about connecting in our ensembles and learning. But when you put that pedagogy to the side, that only happens by building community in a classroom. And so some people often think that these two things have to be built separately. And in the time that I have been a middle school and primarily a high school teacher, it's all about the practice of putting people first, and that people can be taught beautiful things through music literacy, but not just the notes and the rhythms on the page, but the text, the history, background of the composer, that there are people who are writing these things. So I'm really excited to be here to talk about this process.
Awesome. So the curriculum guides, we have 10 plus multiple for different voicings. And I'll start back with you, Colleen. Can you just highlight some of your favorite aspects of the curriculum guides?
Well, first off, anything that I get to work with Coty on, it becomes a favorite thing. So I have really enjoyed putting these together with Coty. One thing that I think is great, they're free on the EC Schirmer website. They are ready for ensembles to use right away. Each curriculum guide has warm-ups that Coty and I have created together specifically for the piece. And we've worked together to create some really unique learning activities for each curriculum guide. So you're going to find something new no matter which guides you're looking at. And I also love that these guides are useful even if you're not teaching this piece. If you're teaching a piece similar to the one that we've created the curriculum guide for, or maybe by the same composer, you're going to find overlap, and it's going to be useful for you in your classroom.
Coty?
Well, I love working with you, Colleen. Stop it, my heart. But I think that joy is part of the process as well. That I think the longer we're in the classroom, the further away we get from score study as a collaborative process. And I will say just the process of doing these guides with Colleen has put a new fire in my spirit of recognizing where your strengths are when it comes to score study, and then knowing that working and extending for help does not diminish your value, it extends your value, it expands upon your gifts. So one of my favorite parts of working on these guides is the collaboration, the sharing and seeing the materials across other different repertoire, and the freedom to get creative in the exercises, and all the different ways that you can go about preparing the repertoire, that it's not just in the rehearsal of the notes and rhythms or these phrases, but as Colleen says, it's being specific and intentional about your warm-ups. And as a college professor, it's having those standards outlined. Colleen was great about laying that out in all of our curriculum guides so that I can help my future educators cater to that and make sure that they're not just checking boxes, but actually exploring those concepts and then doing them in really fun ways and exploration outside of our music curriculum.
Yeah, and so there are, for folks who are just starting to explore these, there are quizzes, there's other activities, there are links to other or to related sources that will help the students. And I know that in North Carolina, we have a daughter who's in high school, and we're getting all these emails from teachers saying, your daughter has been asked to be called this name. And this all comes from Parents' Bill of Rights. And my thought as a parent was, wow, one more thing the teacher has to do is send an email saying, so and so. And I was just thinking about the limit of time and how the demands that are going on with the teachers and how time to prepare is getting less and less and less. And I think this is where this can be super helpful with you. You want to speak to that or anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think part of it is we want to make teachers' lives easier. We want to make sure that you have resources with every piece of music that you are performing with your students. The other thing to think about is we have our national standards for music education. I'm teaching an introduction to K-12 music ed course right now, and we're talking about create, perform, respond, connect. And each one of these curriculum guides are helping us hit on that. So if you're being observed by your principal or whatever, like you can take out these teaching objectives, social emotional learning objectives, if your school's into that, and you can apply this to just not have to do that work.
And to cater to extend upon that and to think about the word that you use, time, the loss of time in the classroom, because the duties keep expanding and we still only get 24 hours in the day. We're hoping that you gain time back for yourself as a human being in the space. And one of the ways to gain that time back for yourself independently is by having a guide that doesn't do the work for you necessarily. Like, yes, we've outlined a whole bunch of stuff, but we hope it re-sparks your joy. So that when you're looking at this going, oh, and not only do I have these examples of things and activities I can do, I can also add this. I did that when I was in student teaching. I did that when I was a fresh teacher. I did that before I had to do attendance verification and 20 fire drills and that random assembly and that random Veterans Day performance when I was scrambling for something. This will all spark that and fuel you. And another thing that's great about the guides is that it buys you time back by creating projects, quizzes, and observations, critical thinking things for your students so that they have a way to be assessed and to do the work that doesn't keep you at the forefront of the classroom, that allows them to be independent in their work and in their critical thinking, so that they're then going back to you. They're coming back to you, having sat with the music in a multitude of dimensions, contributing to their own journey in education.
Oh, no, great. Couldn't have said it better myself. This is why I'm having you write it. So, all right. Now, being the editor for School and Concert Music, I would be remiss if I didn't say, okay, give me some go-to composers in the ECS catalog or titles that you guys, especially young teachers that don't know our catalog so well, what should they be looking for?
Well, I got to know Kyle Peterson through this project and then elsewhere. So I think he's a great composer to be introducing your students to some kind of different contemporary styles. He does a really great job of working with people from other cultures to introduce students to that kind of cultural concept. Of course, Rollo Dilworth is a great person to be introducing to your students. Our friend Stuart Chapman Hill from Michigan State is another great composer in the ECS family. And I've also gotten to know Karen Maroli over the summer, and I think she's it's a crossover. She does some church music, some school music. So for people who are looking to work with their church ensembles, she's a great person to look at her work.
Great. Coty?
I also want to highlight Kyle. I think he's a great human. These are great humans writing beautiful music. G. Philip Schultz I love his rendition of We Shall Overcome. If you're looking for an octavo that's going to hit with a beautiful message that it focuses on our Black community and that affirmation of self through injustice, but was also written for all people going through injustice, standing by. I can do a whole podcast on that. Anyway, so that We Shall Overcome. Susan Labar, who has been writing with EC for a while, and her edition of a text, My Very Own, I plan on programming in this upcoming year myself. And Terry Roche, who is new to me, has a tune called Star of Wonder that we got to explore through the curriculum guides while I was working with Colleen. And what she was so kindly asking me for feedback, I just had the YouTube video on repeat, and I was just enjoying it, going, oh, I could do it for tenor bass. Oh, I could do it for treble choir. And that's the other thing that I love about ECS tunes, is that these composers are often publishing in multiple voicings and a multitude of keys to fit whatever you're on, wherever your ensembles are at that moment.
No, that's great. Listen, we could continue. I love talking to you guys, talking to you both, but just wanted to just spend a little time with you all. And we hope that you, as part of the broader ECS family, go to the website, check out all of the curriculum guides, and give us some feedback. Let us know how we could even make them better, because we want to be a great resource for you music educators. Anything else, guys?
I'm
Nope.
excited to share more about this on my newsletter and my website, CodyRavenMorris.com, and through my research, Being Human Together, and how we have curriculum available throughout this wonderful publisher that can help you have all sorts of conversations in your classroom.
Great. All right. Thank you so much, guys, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.